Hello dear students, welcome to today's episode. Today we are going to discuss about leadership. But before proceeding further, I would like to introduce my students with me who are sitting here and will participate in the discussion. He is Mr. Sanchit Tanmay and he is Saad Suleiman, and both of them will actively participate in the discussion. So we'll start with the discussion about the leadership. Now, under leadership, we'll talk about the importance of leadership and various styles of leadership. I am Dr. Arshia Hussain, PhD in Human Resource Management and teaching in the Department of Commerce and Business Studies, Jamia Millia Islamia University, New Delhi. So, we'll start our discussion with the meaning of leadership first. Leadership is the process through which one can influence the behavior of others. Leadership is an essential element for the survival of an organization. Without leadership, no organization can achieve their goals. Leadership is an important activity of a manager. A manager cannot manage employees as well as the organization efficiently unless he can lead his organization and subordinates effectively. The term leadership has been defined in several ways, but all the concepts of leadership have certain common characteristics. According to Coons and O'Donnell, leadership has been defined as influencing people to follow the achievement of a common goal. It is the ability to exert interpersonal influence by means of communication towards the achievement of a goal. Chester Burnett has defined it as the quality of behavior of individuals whereby they guide people or their activities in organized efforts. Now, this means that leadership is an ability of a person or a manager to guide, direct and influence their subordinates so that they can achieve the organizational goals effectively and efficiently. Now, from the said definition, it has been revealed that leadership is simply a process whereby an individual or manager influences their followers or subordinates as well as guides, directs and supervises them to achieve a common goal. Now, from the discussion, we can also conclude that leadership consists of two elements, that is, a person who will lead, known as leader, and the person who has to get lead, that is, subordinates or followers. Now, on the basis of the definition, we can explain the features of leadership. The first feature is leadership is a process of influencing others. Second, leadership is situational. This means that leadership is related to a particular situation. Leadership style in one situation may be different in another situation. Third one, yes.
I have a question. You said leadership is situational. Is it true in all the cases?
Yes, in most of the cases it is true, because according to, there are many theories of leadership, but we cannot go all the time by the theories of the leadership. Depending upon the different situations, we have to deal with the situation. So, most of the time it is true that leadership is situational. In few cases only we can apply for the different theories. Is this clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, The next characteristic or feature is it is a continuous and dynamic process of influencing the behavior of followers or subordinates. Manager has to guide and influence their subordinates all the time. The next feature is a leader must have followers. Leadership cannot exist without followers. Next is good leaders are made, not born. A person can become a good leader if he has the desire to lead his subordinates. Next is a person can become a good leader through education, training and experience. Next is leadership helps in attaining common objectives. Now after this, we'll discuss about the importance of leadership. Leadership is a dynamic and an essential element for the survival of an organization. Without leadership, no organization can achieve their goals. Good leaders can bring success to the organization, whereas poor leadership can nullify the soundest organization. The fate of the organization to a large extent is determined by the quality of leadership. Following functions of leadership will more clarify the importance of leadership.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
I have a doubt. You have said that leaders are not born but are made. Can you explain
Yes.
it further?
Yes, leaders are not born but they can be made as leaders by giving proper training, education and by giving a certain environment.
Yes,
Okay, so it is not necessary that leaders are born. They can be nurtured, okay, they can be made by giving proper education and training programs. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, the most important function of leader is to set up the goals for his subordinates. After setting the goals, he explains the goals to his subordinates as well as the means through which they can achieve the goals. Another important function of leader is to motivate and build morale of their subordinates so that they can achieve the organizational goals effectively. A leader integrates the individual's goals with the organizational goals. A good leader always inspires their subordinates towards the achievement of organizational goals. He also provides guidance and gives advice to their subordinates to achieve the organizational goals effectively. A good leader creates mutual understanding among the individuals or group of individuals and develops team spirit among them. A leader thus acts as a representative of his group. He takes initiative in all the matters of interest to the group. Now, next we'll discuss the types of the leaders. There are two types of leaders. One is the formal leaders and second is informal leaders. So, we'll see what are these two types of leaders are. The first type of leaders are known as formal leaders. These leaders have been given the authority by the organization to exercise the direct control over the activities of their followers or subordinates. He can issue the orders and instructions to their subordinates directly. They will be held responsible for the acts done by their subordinates. They are accountable and answerable to those who have elected them in a formal way. On the other hand, informal leaders are not formally elected or appointed. They do not have any formal authority. They become leader because subordinates get influenced from them. Subordinates feel that their leader will help them in satisfying their personal needs and interest. There are certain circumstances when formal leaders are unable to secure the cooperation of their subordinates. In such situation, informal leaders play a very significant role by attaining the cooperation of the group. Now, we'll discuss leadership styles.
Excuse
The
me,
term,
ma'am.
yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is it necessary to have both types of leaders?
It is not necessary to have both the type of the leaders. Usually, formal leaders are a compulsion because they are formally elected by the entire organization or by the members working in the organization. But it's a human tendency. The informal leaders, they naturally they become in the organization, because it is just like an informal union. You tend to follow someone. So, it is not compulsion to have both the leaders, but yes, usually in all the organization, one is the formal leaders, and second, automatically you follow someone, and when you follow someone, they become your leaders. So, informal leaders in informal circumstances, okay, but they are not responsible for any of your acts. Okay. Now, we will continue with the leadership styles. The term leadership styles refer to the behavior of a leader in a particular situation. Different behavior exists among leaders in different times and at different situations. Leadership style is the outcome of a leader's personality, past experience, types of followers, organizational atmosphere, and so on. Following are some of the leadership styles which exist in the leaders from time to time. Number 1 is autocratic leadership. Second one is participative leadership. And number 3 is your free rein leadership. Now, we will discuss each of these styles in detail. The first one is autocratic style of leadership. An autocrat leader is a leader who is very strict and gives orders to their subordinates. Subordinates have to follow the orders of their leaders without questioning them. He never listens to their subordinates, and he himself determines the policies without consulting their subordinates. All decision-making power is in the hands of an autocrat leader. He loves power and never delegates his authority. Autocrat leader dominates and drives his groups through coercion and command. He does not give freedom to his subordinates to influence his behavior. An autocrat leader believes that subordinates can be motivated only through threats, punishments, or penalties. He assumes that people work for money, and thus he exercises tight control and supervision over them. Now, we will see the advantages of autocratic type of leadership. The first advantage is autocratic style of leadership facilitates quick decision making. Second, autocratic style of leadership gives satisfaction to the leader. Third, this style is useful in case of a less educated and unskilled workers. Fourth, whenever great speed is required, autocratic leadership style provides positive results. Next, we will discuss about disadvantages of the autocratic style of leadership. The first disadvantage is autocratic leadership style leads to frustration, low morale, and conflict among subordinates. Second, it does not allow subordinates to take responsibility and initiative. Thus, full potential of subordinates and their creativeness are not utilized. Next, it does not allow the subordinates to give suggestion for better working. Now, the next style of leadership is participative style of leadership. Participative leadership is also known as democratic leadership. Under this style of leadership, leader determines policies in consultation with the subordinates. He gives full freedom to their subordinates to participate in decision making. He decentralizes authority to their subordinates. Under this style of leadership, subordinates are free to discuss their problems with their leaders. Leader listens to the suggestions and opinions of their subordinates. There is two-way communication. Now, we will see the advantages of participative leadership. The first advantage is…
Excuse me, I have a doubt.
Yes.
That decentralization is, how is it beneficial for it?
For participative leadership.
Yes, ma'am.
See, participative leadership, the characteristic of participative leadership is decentralization.
Yes,
that means delegating the authority and responsibility
Yes, ma'am.
both to the participants, to the members of the organization. So, without decentralization, participative leadership cannot exist.
Yes, ma'am.
So, thus delegating authority to the members
Yes.
is the key element in the participative. Okay, unless and until the members are given authority, they will not like to participate. So, participative leadership allows for decentralization of the authority.
Okay.
Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, we will continue with the advantages. The first advantage of participative leadership is that it gives job satisfaction to the employees. Second one, it reduces the problems and grievances between the employees and management, thus increases the cooperation between them. Next is it boosts the morale of the employees. Next, it also reduces labor turnover and labor absenteeism. Now, we will see disadvantages of participative style of leadership. The first disadvantage is it is a time consuming and may result in delays in decision making. Second, this style may not be effective when subordinates prefer minimum interaction with their subordinates. Third one, under this style, subordinates may feel that leaders are not competent to solve the problems. Now, next type of leadership is free rein style of leadership. Under this style, leader delegates complete authority to their subordinates so that they can take their own decisions. Such a leader does not lead but leaves the group entirely to itself. Subordinates themselves establish goals and work out their own problems. The leader gives all the responsibility and most of the work to their group. In simple words, there is a least intervention of leaders. This style of leadership is also known as permissive style of leadership or laissez-faire leadership. Now, we will have a look at advantages of free rein leadership. The first advantage is it produces good and quick results. Second one, it gives job satisfaction and increases morale of the employees. Third one, it utilizes the full potential of the employees. Now, we will see disadvantages of the free rein type of leadership. The first disadvantage is this style is useful only in case of highly educated employees. Second one, it ignores the contribution of leader.
Excuse me, ma'am. I have a
Yes.
question. Do you think the decision has been delayed in participative type of
Leadership. Yes. In participative, since authority is given to all the participants, to all the members, so every member will put up their own suggestions. Every member would like to place their own suggestion, and due to this factor, the decisions are generally delayed. But whereas in autocratic leadership, the decision is taken by only one person. So, he never consults, so it is all quick decisions. But in participative, delays, yes, it happens, but usually the decisions are correct because it is taken in consultation with all the members of the organization. Is this clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, now we will start with managerial grid. Robert R. Blake and James S. Mouton has identified 5 basic leadership styles which are known as managerial grid. First one is the 9-1 managerial style known as the task. Under this grid, people are considered as machine and autocratic style of leadership is adopted to treat them. There is no place for human emotions and relations. Only formal relation exists between the leader and the followers. Subordinates are expected to carry out the orders and instructions of their leaders without questioning them. The second is the 1-9 managerial style known as the country club. Here, leader is like a big brother than a strict autocrat. Friendly and social relations, good working environment, and so on are the main features of this system. The third one is the 1-1 managerial style. It is known as improved. Here, leader is a messenger who carries orders from the above level and passes to the lower level. Next is the 5-5 managerial style known as middle rule. Here, people are as important as production. Thus, this style tries to maintain a balance between the people and production. The next is the 9-9 managerial style, known as the team. The main purpose is to achieve teamwork to accomplish organizational goals. Now we'll discuss about Likkert's management system. Now, Likkert's management system are management styles developed by Rensis Likkert in 1960s. This system was developed to understand the behavior as well as different style of the leaders. There are usually 7 variables upon which this system is based. That is leadership, motivation, communication, interaction, influence, decision making process, goal setting and control process. Now, according to Likkert, most of the managers adopt one or the other following system of management to get things done through their subordinates. So, now we will discuss these systems. The first one is exploitative autocratic. This is the first Likkert's management system under which all the authority are in the hands of the managers or leaders. Leaders are very strict towards their subordinates. They believe that subordinates would perform the work efficiently and achieve the goals effectively only if they are threatened and punished. Thus, they exercise strict supervision over their subordinates. There is no informal communication between leaders and subordinates. Autocrat leaders gives orders to their subordinates and subordinates have to follow the orders of their leaders without questioning them. He never listens to their subordinates and he himself determines the policies without consulting their subordinates. Now, system 2 is benevolent autocrat. This system also consists of autocrat leaders, but they are not strict and exploitative. This system adopts a stick and carrot approach to motivation. Under stick and carrot system, subordinates are rewarded for the accomplishment of goals and subordinates who do not accomplish their goals are punished. In other words, managers under this system adopt paternalistic approach. According to this approach, subordinates are given some freedom to accomplish their tasks. Now, system 3 is consultative system. Under this system, managers, after consulting with their subordinates, set the goals for the groups and issue orders for accomplishing them. Major decisions are taken by the managers and routine decisions are taken by their subordinates. There is a two-way communication and subordinates are free to discuss any grievances or work-related problems with their managers. Employees under this system are motivated through rewards and not through penalties or punishment. Now, system 4 is democratic system. In democratic system of management, managers have complete trust in their subordinates. Goal setting as well as work-related decisions are taken by subordinates. The behavior of managers towards their subordinates is friendly and they support them in all the way. Much emphasis is given on communication. Both downwards and upward communication is allowed in this system. According to Likkert's system, that is, democratic is the ideal system toward which organization should work. He feels that this system is the best way to develop and utilize human resources. He suggested leadership training at all levels of management so as to move managers to system 4 management. He found that system 4 will lead to higher productivity as well as will give satisfaction to the workers. Now, Likkert states that leadership and other process of the organization must be such as to ensure that in all interactions and in all relationships within the organization, each member in the light of his values, desires and expectations will view the experience as supportive and one which builds and maintains a sense of his personal worth and importance. Now we'll discuss about situational theory of leadership, which is very significant theory in leadership. As discussed in the preceding discussion, there is no one best style of leadership which is universally applicable to all situations. This means that leader who has to choose a particular style of leadership which is the best suited to the situation. According to situational theory, there are 4 variables which affect leadership style. These variables are leader, followers or subordinates, organization structure and situation. Now, these variables not only affect leadership styles but also determine leadership effectiveness. The main thing in situational theory is that leader will first determine the situation, the needs and expectations of their followers, the nature of their followers and so on, and then will select the method or style of leadership which will give maximum satisfaction to their subordinates or followers. The main purpose of this theory is to emphasize that leadership style suited in one situation may be unsuited in another situation. Thus, leaders must change their style of leadership according to the situation. Now, next we will discuss is qualities of a good leader. In order to influence followers, leaders must possess various qualities. Some of the important qualities are discussed as: the first one is physical qualities. Leaders should have sound health, good appearance, enthusiastic, physical and nervous energy, so on. Next is intelligence and ability quality. Another quality which leaders should have is the ability to teach, to comprehend, conceptualize, etc. Apart from this, they should be intelligent enough to solve the problem and to guide, supervise as well as to direct their followers. They must have the ability of sound judgment and self-understanding. Third quality is moral qualities. Another quality which should be present in the good leader is to have courage, willpower, sense of purpose, objectivity, integrity and so on. The next quality that a leader should possess is social qualities. As far as social qualities are concerned, leaders should be such who have the ability to understand the human relations, human nature and human attitudes and so on. The next type of quality is the task related quality. Task related qualities include self-confidence, tactful, ability to inspire their followers and so on. He should have the quality of persuading their subordinates. Now, next we will discuss is leadership continuum. Leadership continuum has been developed by Tenenbaum and Schmidt to describe the various ranges of leadership behavior. The concept of leadership continuum has been divided into ranges which describe the degree of authority used by the leader and the degree of freedom given to the subordinates. 2 ranges of this theory are boss-centered leadership and employee-centered leadership. In case of boss-centered leadership, there is a high degree of control of leader over their subordinates, and subordinates do not have freedom to take their decisions. Managers themselves take decisions and announces to their subordinates. On the contrary, employee-centered leadership refers to that range where manager releases a high degree of control. In case of an employee-centered control, manager considers his subordinates as human beings. Manager respects the needs and decisions of his subordinates. He tries to build teamwork and tries to solve the problems of his subordinates. Under this range, manager trusts their employees and let them function within the range prescribed by him. Manager defines limit and asks their subordinates to take decisions. The main difference between boss-centered and employee-centered leadership is that in case of boss-centered leadership, manager preserves the authority with himself. He lays down the standard methods and conditions of producing goods or results. He keeps his subordinates constantly busy. Whereas employee-centered manager help their subordinates not only in present job but also develop them to achieve higher jobs. Now we'll take a look on what we have discussed
I have a
so
question.
far.
Ma'am, as you have said, what is the main difference between directing a employee and leading an employee?
See, directing an employee and leading an employee, the leadership comes under the direction. So there is a very thin line of difference. Direction involves communication, leadership, supervision and control. But being a part, leadership is one element of direction which includes only to lead the followers, only to lead the employees or subordinates. It does not include your communication, your control and supervision. Is this clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
So, direction or directing is a broader term and leadership is a narrow term. It falls within the direction process.
Yes.
Clear?
Yes.
Okay. So, now we will discuss at what we have discussed in the topic so far. Leadership is a dynamic and an essential element for the survival of an organization. Without leadership, no organization can achieve their goals. Good leaders can give the success to the organization, whereas poor leadership can nullify the soundest organization. Leadership is a process of influencing others. It is a continuous and dynamic process of influencing the behavior of followers or subordinates. This is an answer to the question.
Yes.
It is influencing others, but direction includes the rest of the other elements as well. There are two types of leaders, that is formal and informal leaders. Apart from types of leaders, there are different styles which are followed by leaders to influence their subordinates. These styles are described as autocratic, participative and free rein styles of leadership. In case of autocratic, leaders are very strict and do not listen to their subordinates, whereas participative leaders give chance to their subordinates to participate in decision making. Free rein leaders give full freedom and delegate full authority to their subordinates in making objectives and solving problems. There is no one best style of leadership which is universally applicable to all situations. This means that leader has to choose that style of leadership which is best suited to a different situation or to a particular situation. This is called situational theory. According to situational theory, there are 4 variables which affect leadership style. These variables are leader, followers or subordinates, organization structure and situation. The main thing in situational theory is that leader will first determine the situation, the needs and expectations of their followers, the nature of their followers and so on, and then will select that method or style of leadership which will give maximum satisfaction to their subordinates or followers. So, that is all for today. We will start with a new topic in the new episode. Till then, take care, goodbye. Hope you have understood the concept.
Yes, ma'am.
So, goodbye, take
Thank
care.
you.
Thank you.